Welcome to Toffee TV. Still joined by Paul in the studio. Paul Nealon from Irish Football Fan TV. Check it out on YouTube. Give it a subscribe. A big Evertonian as well. And thought we'd have a chat about Frank Lampard. Couple of different points that I wanted to talk about. Firstly, is the amount of naysayers still that Frank Lampard seems to have in the media. Seen more this week about him being tactically naive and shouldn't have ever had the Everton job, and why is he taking the Everton job? Why did Everton give him the job? And all of this, and yet all I see is a manager that has worked in the Championship for a season and worked in the Premier League at another club for 18 months at a top club and done all right. And then was out of work. Everton needed a manager and he got the job. So I don't understand where this tactical, naive manager is, and he shouldn't be given it, and silver spoon and everything else. So, Ped, what's your take on the whole Lampard media thing?
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird fascination, I think, for some people in the media, that they, obviously want to talk him down and want to put, I don't know, they almost want to put Everton's precarious situation on him. And I find that very strange, considering that Rafa Benitez won one league game in 4 months. And it's like you can't have a go at Rafa Benitez, or there's a certain level of hierarchy, or... Because I don't understand what the point of what they're saying is either. There's never like a real conclusion. Is it that they're trying to say that there should be a trodden path that a coach becomes a manager, when there's lots of other examples of it? Wayne Rooney at Derby County, and respect to Wayne Rooney, it's in the Championship. But isn't that where Frank Lampard started? Isn't that what he's already done? And yet Wayne Rooney gets lots of plaudits for what he's done at Derby. Whereas Derby, when Frank Lampard was in charge, had financial issues. They lost some players in the summer he came in, and he still got them to the playoff final. Okay, they weren't good enough to win it. Well, that's just the way it is. Just because you were a good player doesn't mean you're good enough. Should automatically take your team to win. He went to Chelsea, done all right there, and just come to Everton. It actually seems like it's the perfect job for him. I do believe that he underestimated the situation when he came in, and it took him a good month to sort of understand. I think the Spurs game away was the game where I think he sort of realised that he could not play the way he wanted to play, and we've seen things change since then, and not in every game, of course, but tactically we've started to change, and I think he started getting the real core of the team that he wants. And I think as an Evertonian, as I'm looking at other Evertonians, I think Evertonians believe that they've got a manager that truly cares, that has got some kind of tactical nous, understands the situation we're in. And anything else is because of detracts from the real situation, which is a badly run club, a poor appointment, a terrible transfer window, appointing a manager too late, and he's had to pick up all the pieces. So I find it a very, very strange way of looking at things from certain members of the media.
I totally agree. I mean, Paul, what's your take on it? Because it is weird that this does keep resurfacing, and yet, even Everton's recent games, the home games, they took 10 points out of 12 and conceded 1 goal. That's not something they've done under Benitez. So, what's your take on it?
Well, I just think it's funny. Like, Ralph Ragnick is supposed to be this unbelievable tactical genius, and so is obviously the Tuchel's. He's backed that, and he's gone out and he's shown the two of them up in recent games. Just to name a couple of games. But like, I don't get this whole thing. We were talking about it earlier, and it seems like he's compared to Gerrard, and Gerrard seemed to have done such a greater job, and this and that. But I look at the players that he's produced. Like, he's made players out of players like Mason Mount, Tomori, now he's gone to AC Milan, Reece James, Tammy Abraham. These types of players who weren't really given the chance. He was probably forced to play some of them. So he was forced to play some of them, but it's worked. But I'd say even if he wasn't forced to play them, he was going to play them anyway because he brought a lot of them to Derby, and that's you know how he kind of developed them. So the fact is we've got someone there who will work with young players. But we've seen a bit of it with Anthony Gordon. I know, look, the other fella brought him in at the start, but the way he played against Liverpool, the confidence he must have got from Lampard, and that, you know, I look at players like Dele Alli who may, by the end of the season, what better person for him to learn off. But as you say, with this whole thing in the media, and it's even like other fans at other clubs, they're all listening to what these people are saying, and then they're taking it as gospel, and you're just like, well, hang on a minute, why? Like, where's the evidence of this? It's just lazy journalism saying, oh, he's not good, he shouldn't be there. And look, I know we said it already, but you know, I watched the way he celebrated after the game the other day, and for me, that's someone who, he loves the job that he's in. He knows it's a hard job, and he's changed the way he probably wanted to play to try and grind out results. And if he can keep grinding out results, get us up, look for the summer then, and then start looking to play the style of play that we can tell he doesn't want to play the way we are now, but he has them all well drilled. Yeah. And that's all we can ask for right now as we go into this relegation battle.
Like Paul's just said there, he's come up at Everton against Pep Guardiola. Everton were robbed that day. You know, City didn't exactly destroy us, so there was a tactical game plan there that negated a lot of what Man City did that day. For 62 minutes at Anfield, he had stopped another absolutely fabulous football team creating anything real by a tactical game plan. Manchester United, Ralph Rangnick, very experienced tactically, he was spot on there. And Thomas Tuchel, who we both really rate as an excellent manager and a great tactician. Lampard had enough in it to keep Chelsea quiet and to win that game as well. So it's the tactical thing that, and I've seen some Evertonians say it as well, you know, he hasn't got a clue tactically and all this. And I just don't understand where that viewpoint comes from when evidence points everywhere else.
I think I do think in the first month of the job, I think the away games pointed to, as I said before, maybe not quite fully understanding the players, but that's natural. I think this idea of, I think we all think when a manager comes in, you're going to get this immediate bounce. And in the main part, the home games have been you know, all right. We've lost a couple of home games, haven't we? Wolves and Manchester City.
7 out of 9 in all competitions.
So the away games which Everton have struggled in all season, and have traditionally struggled in apart from the season with Ancelotti. And he is trying to turn something round. And as I said, I know City are sort of I'm not gonna sit here and sort of, you know, be a cheerleader for him, but I have been impressed by not only, like you saying, not only how we play, but getting across to the players what needs to be done. You know, I've heard people talking like the dark arts and all that kind of thing, but making sure that players understand the position we're in and what it takes. You know, what's Iwobi's performance on Sunday and how disciplined it was, and to get him playing in who's so, I've said before, I think Iwobi's did think was the worst signing Everton have ever made, pound for pound, what we paid for him and what we've got out of him, which was very, very little. But what we've seen is him coming into a position where, like a number 8, the manager trusting him enjoying that role, being part of games, not always being someone you rely on for goals or assists, just doing his job. And then when it comes to a game like Sunday, where you've got to get hold of him and say, you're going to have to play as essentially a second right back, because he wasn't a wing back, he was a second right back on Sunday. And the lad just did it. There's no huffing or puffing or God. He did it because the manager's obviously asked him to do it. And, you know, you can say he told him to do it, but he's asked him to do it. I want you to play this role. You're going to be really important in it. And I think when you see other people, you know, Anthony Gordon working his bollocks off for the team, Damari Gray keeping a tactical shape, all those little things. So I think that shows the players are responding to what the manager wants. There's a lack of quality, we all know that. I don't think the manager can automatically fix that, you know. But we have seen marginal gains, certainly at home, and certainly, you know, and it has annoyed people, and I'm made up it's annoyed people. Last week's performance at Anfield, I'm delighted that's caused ripples. You know, I said a few weeks ago I wanted Everton to play like Atletico Madrid, and they are playing a little bit like them. They're horrible and they're getting needly, and people are starting to say, oh, Everton are horrible, and Roy Keane going, it's horrible, but I understand why. I think you earn more respect when you do things like that. So that comes from the manager, comes from his coaching staff. And if people don't like it, well, then fucking, who cares? You know, if it keeps Everton in the Premier League, that's all that matters. Because the same people were going on about Everton's lack of fight or you know,
Character,
what was character, what was going on behind the scenes. Same people, you know, having those street smarts, you need to win games of football. Same people were going on about this and how Everton had been had no identity and no character. And you know, all these things, and the fans were split and all these things. But what I saw on Sunday was a club that was very much together. And it actually gave me heart that if the worst thing did happen, that I genuinely believe that we'd have somebody to follow who would say, come on, we're all in this, let's just get back up. Let's get this. If the worst thing did happen, come on, just stick together. It'll take a year and we'll come back up. We'll all pull in the right direction. And the noises that are happening behind the scenes of, you know, what Kevin Felwell's trying to do and getting rid of all these, and, you know, get rid of this people's club mentality, get rid of this family club mentality, stop being a charity and pulling in the same direction. Hopefully it means we stay in the Premier League. But if it doesn't, then let's just stick together and go with it as well. Because there is something that Sunday showed us, that we all love our club and we've all got that fighting spirit. So, and he's brought that out for us, and I don't think that would be there if Benitez was still in charge. I know it wouldn't be there. I think what would be happening if Benitez was there is people would be like, this is all on the board, this is all on him for appointing him, and I don't think we'd all be pulling in the right direction.
I think we'll come back to the, if the worst happens and stuff like that, but just a couple of things Ped said there, and particularly, I guess, in the case of people like Alex Iwobi, who, as I was going to say split Evertonians, but in general most have agreed that he simply hasn't been good enough. But since Lampard's come in, you know, we spoke before, Paul, it was in another video, or we were just off camera talking about, like, he had a little go under Ancelotti for a few weeks and it looked good, and then he just tailed off again. And yet, we've seen probably his most consistent time now at the football club. I haven't seen the stats on Sunday, but the last home game he ran, or against Leicester, he ran, United, wasn't he? Ran a kilometre more than anybody else on the pitch, and he's working his bollocks off. I've seen some words from him today saying, now, he's still, every time he makes a sub, he still looks to see if it's his number, but the manager's given so much confidence that he knows that he can get through games, and he's given everything, and he loves the crowd and this, that and the other. He's been one example of something you said before when you mentioned Mason Mount and you mentioned Abraham and people like that, of improving players. You know, we've seen Michalenko settle down lately, we've seen Anthony Gordon go up a level, you know, Damari Gray was running his bollocks off the other day, so he has been able. This looks like a manager who all the players are behind as well, doesn't it, despite the predicament that we're in.
Yeah, well, I think as Ped said there, like, if the worst case scenario happens, we have someone there to lead us back up, but hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully we can keep going and replicating performances like the other day. But when you look at someone like Iwobi, who he's been given that freedom to kind of be the one just behind the three main attackers, which apparently is his best position. I don't know about that, but anyway, he's been better. And I think when someone like Frank Lampard has trust in you for what player he was, for someone like Iwobi, I think that's something that he'll really hang on to, because obviously under Benitez, I don't think he had any trust in half of them, you know, other than the players he brought in. So I look at that, and I think it gives us hope. And the fact, under Ancelotti, there was a few games where Iwobi played like a right wing back, and he done all right. He did well. He wasn't amazing, but you know, he was just disciplined in his performance. And every game that I've pretty much watched now for the last while, I can't say he's been terrible. I know he had the mistake against West Ham, and that was what it was. But like, he still scored the goal against Newcastle, which was massive. But I think now he's starting to buy into the club, and it's because of Lampard. I think he's starting to buy in, and when you start seeing that, look, we've had worse players than Iwobi playing for us, but once they give it the heart, like Tony Hibbert, maybe, like could be someone you could kind of look at in terms of quality, but he gave everything, so the fans loved him just because of that. And if Iwobi can keep going on this kind of trajectory at the minute, look, I don't think he's going to be world class or anything like that. I don't think anybody's saying that here, but the manager's got to tune at him out of him, at the perfect time. And I think Gordon, has gone up another level, especially in recent weeks. I know his possession and stuff, it wasn't great the other day, but his work rate was there and evident to see. You can see that he wants it. Richarlison, again, he's gone up another level, I think, in recent weeks. So I see players going up a level, and I also think his substitutes have improved as well. I think the subs he made on Sunday, they really affected the game in the right way. Like, I thought Alan, he brought him on at the right time. Even Delph looks like he kind of wants to be there a bit more. Not so much, but he still does a little bit, But I think he brought on Alan, and he gave us that little bit of energy that Delph didn't have at that point, Decore was going to give us energy regardless. Then he brings us on Rondon, and he was, he runs like he's in slow motion, but
he's battling.
He's battling, and then Ali hits the ball up to him as well. When Dele Alli came on, I actually thought he'd done all right. Look, he wasn't on for long, but in small little moments, he wound Reece James up and kind of took his head out of the game a little bit, and he got in their faces a little bit, which is what we wanted. Gives the ball up to Rondon and then gets us in a decent position. Probably should have scored, but you're starting to see players who are really buying into it, and everyone who played the other day made a difference, I felt anyway, and that for me shows that he's doing something right.
The other thing as well, I think, is he the first, I said this to Paul on another video, is he the first manager that we've had since Moyes probably that has been able to kind of tap into the fans? Because what I mean by that is, like, Martinez did it kind of like with nice football in the first season, but then Goodison became quiet, didn't it, waiting for something to happen. And I don't think any manager since, maybe Carlo would have, but the pandemic hit and it was a TV show with Carlo in charge. We weren't there with him. So is he the first manager in terms of, you see him when we score, you seen him on Sunday, allegiance to Chelsea, well, he was frigging punching everything, he was delighted. At the end of the game, he's round all corners of the ground, the fans are loving it. He's going on about, he gave an interview after it saying, I've never seen a reception like that, and this is a fella that's won Champions League and Premier League, who's like, it was unbelievable what the fans did. Is that something we can harness as well? Because it does feel like, I've seen loads of people on social media saying, I've never felt so connected to the club again over these last few weeks.
I think what he's done is I think he's very aware of what's going on, whereas I think a lot of other managers, put it this way, he'd never have a red Christmas tree.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I think he's very switched on to where Evertonians are. He's quite young, my age, young. He's switched, but he's quite switched on to what's going on. He's savvy to what's going on with fans. He hasn't buried his head and gone, I don't need to know about this. He understands, I think, the culture of where the football is and where we are as fans, and I think he wants to tap into that in the most positive way, not in a he's not like a sycophant, but it's like I'll do this because it's great for me, or I think he genuinely understands that. I think he'd be like, that video when you see the security guard checking people into the stand, into the ground. That would have been him looking for smoke bombs on Sunday. He fully buys into all that. He wants the atmosphere to be amazing. He understands that that's all part of the culture. He comes to the Gladys Street and he's giving her all the thing. He's like, he knows the Gladys Street's like the cultural centre of the traditionally. I apologise, Park End and everywhere else, but Gladys Street is, and he comes to the parking, you know what I mean? He gives everyone else a wave, but he comes to the parking because he understands that's the Gladys Street, under the parking, unless you wanted a butty. Comes to the Gladys Street and he gives the fist bumps because he knows that's where the cameras are going to be. He understands that's where the traditions of the club are, and
that's what the real atmosphere.
But that's it. Well, that's what
it's like. The other fella going to the top, isn't it?
He's tapped into that.
Like that. He knows, doesn't he?
He's tapped into all that and understands that if you harness that, and that's what he's saying. But you've heard it in press conferences. You heard it in his first press conference. You're all with us. This was about you. Said it on Sunday. Man of the match was the fans, and he'll be like that. Do it again. Do it again. He'll be pushing the fans. Do it again. Stick with us. Stick with us. Stick with us. On last press conference, I'm here as long as you want us. That kind of thing. He understands. He's fully tapped into it, and listen, I sit here and I'm not a convert. But I appreciate Frank Lampard as a player and what he's trying to do, not what he's done, because he hasn't done anything. What he's trying to do, and I get I get it, and you see other people who are fully on board, and that's fine. I don't want to be fully on board because I'm trying to keep that little perspective of where we've been and where we want to go. But I genuinely believe that if we stay in the Premier League this season, I do believe that him and the director of football know exactly the kind of players that we need. And the football won't be like necessarily like what we're playing now. He'll try and play another way, but he's not stupid. He knows that we can't play that at the moment. And I think having a player, he understands the media as well, massively.
Yeah.
He understands that what he says as well will be picked up by different people. It always has to be the right tone. But he's not afraid to like say things either. He's not like he does the old, last week at Anfield, it wasn't a soundbite. He says Salah would have got that penalty at that end, and he's right. Everyone knows that. It doesn't. We're not here to make slogans to put on walls. That's the truth. That is the truth. And he didn't say it to win favour with the Evertonians. He said it because he genuinely believes that. And I think that's another important thing as well, is that he understands what to say and when to say it. And you can see him. He's a thinker. So I think it's. I think the people have finally found someone they can follow without it being too over the top. And we've gone on for ages about a club divided, a fan base divided, a board. I never want to hear from anyone that boardroom ever again in my life. Let this fella do the talking. Yeah. Let Kevin Fellwood do the thinking. And hopefully that's the path that it will take us somewhere.
If you've both kind of mentioned it, the ideal is we get enough points, we win 3 more games and stay up, and we can rebuild from the Premier League position. That's what we want, it's what we all want. It's what Frank Lampard wants. But if the worst came to the worst and we just fell short and we ended up in a different division for the season, hopefully, would you still keep him? Because for me, there's no question. There's absolutely no question. He will be our manager next season, whether we're in the Premier League or we're in the Championship. Because I think I've seen enough from him. And like you said, he's not done anything amazing. I think we've been very good at home under him. It's better going the match at home. Under the other fella, we'd won 2 home games from September till mid-January or something, where the last 4 home games we took 10 points for the start. This is a man who came in February, by the way, and it's May, and people are saying he's not good, whatever. But for me, there'd be no question about that, because I'd have full faith in him to get us back up first time asking. What would you do? Would you put the blame on him that we haven't stayed up and want to see him changed, or would you want to see him backed?
Well, firstly, obviously, I hope we can manage to stay up.
Yeah.
Obviously. But I think if we can stay up, this might be the best thing that ever happened to us, is being in this position where we need our fans to be back.
Yeah.
And then going forward, then the fans know their role. The manager knows obviously his role, and so did the team. And Lampard would have played against Moyes teams and stuff like that, where it was horrible and stuff like that. And I'm sure that's probably where the thinking comes from, in that as well. And he's people like Dunk there, who get the club as well. So there's all these things that kind of tie together. So at the moment, after Sunday, I'm not really thinking about us going down. I'm thinking we're going to just focus on these games, and if we can stay up. But the fact that it's become this close call, that even if it goes down to the end of this, or the last day of the season, I still think that I wouldn't be doing. This isn't his fault with the mess we're in. He's doing the best with what he's got. I think we're seeing that at home and stuff like that. But look, the fans are back on board with the players, which had been missing. There's an atmosphere of the game that hadn't been there in a long time. I felt anyway, but I hadn't been over for 2 years. But the last one I went and Carlo was manager against, it was the Newcastle, the 2-2, and the atmosphere was dead that night. And usually Goodison under the lights, it's really you know, historically, it's a hard place to go. It's a horrible atmosphere if you're an away team. But I think Frank he's got that back now, and I think no other manager since Moyes has kind of got that. You know, we've had good performances, and you know, we've had decent nights, maybe with Martinez in Europe and this and that. But now the atmosphere hasn't always been as much. Whereas I think with Frank now, it's someone who gets it, as you say, and I think Martinez had a little bit of that where the crowd they liked him, and you know, he said the right things at times, but then he kind of fell short. So I think, look, it's going to be key how we finish the end of the season, regardless of what happens. I will keep him, yeah. I still think he's going to build something if he's let. But I'm optimistic that we'll stay up, and I think summer he gets in his own players. Certain players leave, we can build on that. But I certainly wouldn't be blaming anything on him since he came in. Look, he's learned about the players, and I think it's taken him time to learn about the players, but there's no kind of easy way of learning, especially some of them can be con men where they come in and they're good one week and you'd think you were looking at a different person the next week. So yeah, I think he's learned, and he's learned with the substitutes as well. I think he knows who he can trust and who he can't trust now.
That's a shame for you then. If the worst did happen, would you be just leave him in place?
No, listen,
let him get on with it.
This is a shite set of players. Simple as that. They're not. This is not a team that's going anywhere. So he's getting a tune out of them, and some players are obviously not elevating themselves, but playing to the level they should be playing at, the likes of Richarlison, and obviously having Yerry Mina back, Pickford in decent form is hugely important. But also just nailing down a team and not chopping and changing every week, which seems to be the case. No, I wouldn't. I've seen this said. It's like where people say, "Oh, well, it would be his legacy," but I don't think it would be his legacy. And I think that if you've got a guy there who seems to be pulling in the right direction, it's more about timings for me. It's about how we've done things this season. We've let things go too late. We didn't sack Benitez in time. The transfer window was shambolic. We appointed Frank Lampard too late in the window. Then it's, you know, the Premier League is starting its first game in February. We've done poorly in that. We've left. It's the same set of players, isn't it? You know, he's getting the benefit really of one player that came in, that's Mikalenko. So for me, I would just leave him, and I'd leave the status quo of the club alone, because it's got a new director of football, it's got new people running the academy. Get the boardroom situation sorted, get a new chairman in, if you can get a new CEO in, just make the changes that need to be made and let the football side things. Because if we do go down, because it's a realism that you have to face. You can't sit here with our you know, dismissing it. So if we do go down, it's got to be that thing of keep as many police players together as you can and get us straight back up. Look, Fulham have pissed it. Yeah. Pissed it.
Another 7.
Norwich do it most years.
You know, Norwich do it most years. Let's just get our heads down. Don't make any dramatic changes. Don't forget we're in this position because last summer the carpet got pulled from underneath us. Carlo's out the door, and we don't appoint anyone for a month. And then when we appoint someone, he's disliked by most of the fan base, and then we don't have any money to give him, which is not really Rafa Benitez's fault. But then there were players available, but then there was a power struggle at the club because he was going to bring players in. And you waste this
huge.
What have we been saying for the last few years? Can we just have a summer where we don't do anything? Yeah. Can we just have a summer where the same manager stays in charge?
He gets to choose.
And he gets to
pre-season and plays he wants.
Yeah. And that's all we were hoping for with Carlo, was a normal summer, and we didn't. Yeah. It was you know.
Because even his summer before, it wasn't good because of COVID.
So. But we didn't. There wasn't a summer. We played through the summer, didn't we? Yeah. So I think if the worst things happen, just keep the continuity. Get your. We all would have to, like, obviously be an adjustment, but don't make it a great reset, doesn't it? Because what we've seen in the last few weeks is there's enough talent and maybe character to go right. One and done. Let's get this done. Yeah. Because the minute you start going, oh, I'm going to change him, you do end up like Sunderland. Yeah, you do end up like Sunderland.
Absolutely.
Because your club is like, can't stop itself from being a free fall. We're where we are right now, we're not in free fall. What we are is in a terrible position, but we're not in free fall. It's not like we are miles away. We're not bottom of the league. There's not a chasm. It's in our own hands. But if the worst case scenario happened, just keep those fundamentals together and go, right, one and done. Get your heads down. Fans do the same thing, by the way, as well.
Yeah.
This is not...
If
we stick together, we don't start going, oh, I'm not going anymore. We all stick together and we make Goodison as hostile as we can, and we just plough through that league as much as we can and go, right, it's 1 year, it's horrible, we don't like it, but let's just smash through it. And that's the way, that's got to be the mentality. Don't be feeling, listen, it would be horrible, but don't feel sorry for yourself. Come back, get stuck in, you get through it, and we try and get sorted. But hopefully that doesn't happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everyone's feeling a lot happier after obviously the weekend. I think the last few games have shown people that the team will stick together. The fans have been magnificent and will continue to be. Sean Frank Lampard was asked about the flares, the smoke, and said, I think I know what'll happen in the next 2 home games, i.e. saying, do it again, because they will. The fans have been magnificent. If we all stick together, 3 wins, we're well capable now of those 3 wins. So let us know what you think in the comment section below. How do you think Frank Lampard's done? We think he's done okay. I think he's done all right. I think he gets the fans. The fans in general all seem to like him, certainly in the stadium. I think the players like him. It's obvious he's got a tune out of them at last. He's give us that fighting chance as well as staying up. What would you do if the worst came to the worst? Would you change him, or would you just, like Ped said, leave everything alone and let them actually try to build something rather than chopping and changing? Don't forget to check out Paul Irish Football Fan TV on YouTube. Get a sub to that. Give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't. And if you want more videos, join us on Patreon. The link is in the description. See you later.